I've played the Ashes Alpha for about 50 hours now, and I've been wanting to write a review that encapsulates everything I did in the alpha and what I think about it. I know it was an alpha, but I wanted to give feedback on all the content I've done and how the game has been played throughout the month it's been out, as well as talk about what they've changed in the game builds. For a quick review of what I've done, I quested, I killed the raid dragons, I quested, I gathered, I finished questing, I gathered, killed more dragons, and then I exploited something to get 12 key XP an hour per kill on an elite mob, and now I wander the map doing whatever I can to make gold. I played about 50 hours. Questing the game has actually been really fun. The key to any fun quest is how engaged it makes you. That's why everyone complains about grindy quests and any RNG involved in gathering quests as well. They aren't engaging and it's mindless running around until you're done, really. The spawn for alpha players is full of quests that you can pick up by talking to the various NPCs there. It's quite simple at the start. There's like 2 kill quests, and the rest are either to investigate an area on your map or talk to NPC, which usually leads you down a path where there are more quests. It's not too hard to find quests at the beginning. You even get some for when you're higher level, kind of outlining where you need to go when you're done with all the low level quests, which I think is pretty great. Nothing's worse than wandering the map and looking for quests. I never felt like any quest was a simple repetitive grind when I was questing. It actually felt like I was an adventurer talking to NPCs since they have like multiple chat options with the characters. Though most of the time you could probably skip through and not read a thing, there was this one quest giver at the entrance of a cave that if you said the wrong lines to him, you would instantly die. Something I really like is that there were more consequences to what I said to a quest giver. Like I would miss out on some sort of buff before heading out if I didn't take a certain approach or a better path to completion, for example. Instead of saying there's bad boys up there, to a religious zealot, I would say there are heretics in need of purging up in the mountain instead. And then this would inspire the NPC to give me some potion or something. There was a jumping puzzle part of a quest, which I actually really enjoyed. It's just parkour over from one rock to another, but it's better than walking up to a statue and praying at it and walking back to the quest giver. Especially in like a post-apocalyptic Vera where like maybe shrines have moved and they're on top of rocks and stuff. It'd be pretty cool if there was, when you're exploring, there's more jump puzzles around the map. They're fun in almost any game, really. There was a cartography quest where you had to count paces from like point A to B to C, and I really guesstimated the amount you could guess and have like no consequences at all, which I don't think is intended. One of the future builds actually fixed this. So learning the process of elimination in grade school will really carry you through that quest. Before the build fix, you just repeat and guess again and again. Recently patched, of course, but I still think it was an interesting quest if you did it correctly. Uh, it made running from point A to point B a lot more fun. I guess like exploring was more interesting. Combining jumping puzzles with the cartography points would be pure bliss, if you ask me. Go to this vantage point to see places and then go to them, things like that. There was a quest where you had to assemble like a shrine and it didn't hold your hand at all. Like, can you believe that? It didn't say place the wood on the stone for the first step and then the second and then the third and the fourth. It just lets you do your own thing. If I didn't read the dialogue beforehand, I'd probably have no idea I was even assembling a shrine. I just picked up wood and stone for no reason, like just trying to prevent littering in Vera. I even ended up trying to get Doc on voice and helping him do the quest. Not even sure if this was really like a feature. I think they just made a mistake and then the quest didn't really explain the steps to you too well. But I genuinely think that quests should be this way where they don't hold your hand. It makes for a much more engaging questing experience. Uh, there's also this clue-based treasure hunting quest, which I thought was really fun, until I realized there were quest markers that told you the general area of where to go. Like, I thought I was playing Sea of Thieves for a second, about to have a good hunt for treasure, but it was still fun, and I wish they could just get rid of the quest markers and buff the rewards or something. Like, that would be a good balance. Investigating the death of the scholars was a pretty good quest when I'm talking about like the right balance of pointing you in the right direction, not holding your hand. They just gave you a huge general area for you to look in, and then you had to find the scriptures on one of the big ass monk heads. And that was a good idea. Same thing with like going into the town in the next area where you were investigating. You actually had to talk to the chieftain and see and ask him, hey, where the hell is this guy? And then he gave you clues to find him ultimately, which I definitely think is the way to go for any search and destroy quest, like, or any search quest. That's how it should be. Well, in general, I think creatively speaking, the quests are great. I would be able to do them forever since none of them really felt the same. But with like the grand world of any MMO, there's probably going to be some repeat quests, and hopefully we see them spiced differently in each location. The worst thing about the questing is the unholy amount of traveling involved in these quests. It's so daunting the first time, but when you tell me to literally backtrack to the same quest giver, I want to die inside. Like, not everyone is going to gather while they travel, which is a good way of entertaining yourself while you're traveling. So, especially in the starter zones, like the traveling should be cut down a lot. I definitely think so. You don't want to like have somebody run for 20 minutes, talk to an NPC, and then run back 20 minutes. It's just not an engaging experience. Unless, of course, there are milestones in between. There are things that you do in between. But listen, for the most part, it's not too good. So the grinding in the game, the grinding in the alpha build, I wanted to talk about that for a little bit. For an alpha build, I really think there shouldn't be much grinding involved. I was level 9 and I had finished pretty much every quest in the game. I think I may have missed like a handful, maybe like 3 from what people have told me. Like they tell me some vague step and I don't know where that is, but it took me 11 hours after completing all these quests from level 9 to 15 to get to level 15. And I abused the bug. I killed Miss Lily the Perfect for 11 hours. It varies, obviously, with group size. It's kind of like an elite mob that gives you a quest while you're killing her. And it doesn't affect XP rates if other people kill it with you. But I had a pretty big group going for like 8 of those hours, and killing this NPC gives you 12,000 experience every 5 minutes or so. So it still took so long. And for an alpha test, that just isn't right. It was a huge source of gold too, because it dropped an item before the first wipe. They wiped the first week, and everybody lost their gold, their levels, and all that. And before you ask, the reason why I even wanted to get to max level is because you need to be level 12 to join sieges, which is something I really wanted to do so I could try legendary crafting. I wanted to test out the sieging, which, by the way, the gear is for level 15s anyways, so I kind of wanted to level to 15. So there is a point to leveling to test out these features. So I just really wish Intrepid would buff the quest to give more XP to encourage testing of the quest and have there be less grinding. And there really isn't much testing to be done with the monsters anyways. Like there's a handful of random mobs in the jungle, like goblins. They retain their running animation upon dying, things like that. There's not much testing that's needed. So like imagine grinding for maybe 15 hours, 16 hours instead of 11 on raptors. Like that's not really doing anything but helping test the server performance and I guess raptors. So I that's some feedback for the future alpha tests that I really think are a good idea. So moving on to the performance side of the servers and the clients, I'm not too knowledgeable about the difference. I'm not too sure about all that stuff. I gotta ask one of the people in the community about it, honestly, because I have no idea. But it's been said many times that the main reason for the test is to see how the server performs, as well as how the players are performing. And I've always thought the rest of the game could be placeholder. UI, the combat, the questing, the bosses, everything could be placeholder if, in general, you are saying that the main reason to test is to test the servers. So Steven has said that the alpha performance is pretty good server side, which is great. And then it just needs optimization on client side. So that's like in general what he said, and that sounds great. My personal experience is that the game lags all the time. I have like a 1080 Ti. I forget my processor, but it's pretty good. And I pretty much get FPS drops with any big thing being introduced in my field of vision. Like I'm battling a dragon, does an AoE, there's some frame rate lag. Seems like places where it makes sense to lag because there's lots of people killing a dragon. There's many things in a node, but that shouldn't exist. Even when I'm out gathering and I turn around fast, I might lose FPS. Even in development updates, Steven slowly pans almost every time, and even though it's probably for dramatic effect, I suspect that it's because if he looks too quick, it'll look choppy on camera. Like you'll get some FPS drops. Uh, but in general, my opinion is that the lag is fine for an alpha. And who knows? Maybe the DDoS attacks on the servers are the reason why I'm lagging a lot. Not because the game is lacking optimization. There was problems with that on the servers. Maybe near the end of the third week of the alpha test. So that could be the reason too. So can't really give much feedback on that except it was laggy. So I'm moving on to the bosses segment. I want to give feedback on each individual boss and how they performed, what their actions were like. So before I say anything though, I don't know why the dragons have a 6-hour respawn timer. It kind of kills my motivation to play the game when I'm done with everything and all I want to do really is kill the dragons with a lot of people. And it's 6 hours in between each kill time. Like, why not 2 hours? You know, why not an hour and a half? Anyways, so the Pyroclastic Wyvern. Y'all probably seen this one in the development updates. And I'm going to be riding this one in the game because I got that level 9 on the battle pass from APOC, you know what I'm saying, like from a long time ago. Anyways, this boss doesn't feel fluid at all. Tail swipes or hit me across the stadium. The breath attack has no animation. That's all he really does. He flies up, raptor spawn, everything gets hectic. Since clerics have no AoEs, it means it's really rough for everybody. He comes back, it's just the same thing. Kill it, avoid the breath, avoid the tail swipe. You generally just stand to the side. The performance is really choppy, and his like actions seem kind of fluid. Yeah, definitely needs some more testing. So the poisonous elder dragon, he's a really low HP elder dragon who is actually pretty well made. Being level 15 makes it pretty much impossible for me to die, but early on that fight was pretty intense. He's got this ball breath move that you literally have to use dodge to dodge, which is awesome. I still think online games shouldn't really have dodge since latency exists, but it was still really fun. The breath move doesn't really do much. It spreads poison, but it's pretty much useless. The tail swipe isn't dangerous because everybody ranges all the bosses since nobody likes root motion combat. Wands are just safer in general too. The dragon does this move where he sends poison up into the air and it lands on every single player fighting the boss. It insta-kills low levels, which is great. I've had PK moments where it was pretty funny. Like, you know, you're just standing a little too close to somebody, they're running in your direction, they get caught in your ball because they're not paying attention. But the poison doesn't exactly land on you, which I think is a great design choice if intended. If it's not intended, damn, it should be intended. Because it kind of makes stacking dangerous. You know, you want to stack to limit the amount of, I guess, poison on the stadium, because it does leave an AoE of poison. And because it doesn't land exactly on you, the little bit of like extra feet that you need to run is a killer. Because you have a big area. If you all stack, you have a big area you need to cover to run away. So it usually ends up killing people. Seems like a great anti-Zerg mechanic, honestly. I like the jumpy move. Yeah, let me show Steven tripping on it like 3 times. So for the most part, the boss is great. It has awkward transitions sometimes and does break every so often. It's not completely polished, but once it is, I think it'll be a pretty fun boss to do, especially if you don't have battle res mechanic. It would make the fight actually really difficult. So the Ice Elder Dragon, my favorite design boss so far. I think the bugs really do him a disservice. So this boss is dangerous and requires teamwork to free your peeps out of ice gals, which gals means prison, by the way. Knowledge is power. It's quite fun if it wasn't so bugged out all the time. So this dragon has a field move where he lays a field of ice and you're supposed to wait for it to pop before moving onto it again, which doesn't feel very intuitive for some reason. This move is great in conjunction with the ice shards falling on top of you because dividing your focus could be hard mid-fight. They are a ticking time bomb to explode and hurt you as well. So this could distract you enough to miss moving to the other field and dying or walking into a previously put down ice bomb as well, which I think is great. I like when bosses have movement involved in like trying to solve their attacks. So on top of this, he has an ice breath that is like an AoE in front of his mouth. It pretty much kills anyone in it. It'd be nice if there was more of a tell, so the whole raid didn't have to ask for a res at once. But with a tell, this could be quite fun, but right now it's a little too busted. Randomly, he'll imprison your raid members, and while they can fight to get out, they always require other raid members to help them free them from the ice that blows up and one-shots them. If you're not on top of that, your teammate will more than likely die every single time. They did recently buff the amount of health on these to the point where it's actually impossible to even like free your teammates. Like 1500 HP cannot be done unless you are really focused. Like your whole raid is really focused on freeing these people. Maybe there's even a tell and you're on voice. And I personally think it should be 800 health. It's a good variety. Like you need about 3 people, including the person who's in it, to free them, and with a little bit of delay, from reaction time. Once below like 50% health, a new move is added, which is pretty much a spin to win move. Since they updated it, they include ice skulls in the middle, and it's impossible to go into the middle, which I thought was really fun. Like getting close to the boss, it seems like a nice like change of pace, and then you just kind of go back into your range positions. But sadly, now everyone just runs so far away with their lame wands, and nobody really gets hurt. So yeah, that should probably be changed. Just remove the ice skulls from the middle. Getting close seems like the more fun thing and the more engaging thing to do. So I really enjoy this boss. I think it focuses on movement and positioning really well, which I generally enjoy a lot more than managing debuffs, running to a general area and staying there for like the entire fight. It's a really nicely designed boss. So the Elder Fire Dragon. Oh man, this boss actually has a quest line that involves mostly running and a little bit of gathering. You need to run from spawn to the farthest point away from spawn and back, and then use 8 stone and 20 charcoal to make an Emberstone talisman. This way you can withstand the fiery winds that the boss battlefield lays out. The quest line is pretty cool actually, just way too much running. The boss itself is incredibly simple and not really well done at all, which was really disappointing after I did all that running. After setting up a raid group with maybe 30 people, the first thing that happened after we had to, give everybody Emberstone talismans, make sure everyone had them, talk to people, like organize everything for maybe an hour, we ran into the boss and it instantly got stuck in a rock and we couldn't kill it. And then when we asked moderators to fix it, they said we can't do that because then everybody will want to have that happen to their server. So it must have been a widespread problem. It just seemed so ass to organize and then, get destroyed. So you can honestly kite this boss the entire time. If it doesn't catch its like target, it'll just like continue following forever. It will never like transition into another fight phase, which sucks. Like I said, I don't think this boss was really designed too well before the alpha. Maybe that's why there's a Emberstone Talisman gateway to it. I don't know. It has a move where it flies up into the air. It can actually turn on a dime, and even if you are super far away, it will one-shot you every time, even if you're level 15. And you'd think, maybe I should get close to dodge him, right? His little turning on a dime. It's much easier to encircle a small circle rather than a huge circle. Whoa, geography. Wait. I forget what it's called. Anyways, he has a move where he does a like storm around him, and you can't actually run out of it. If you're next to him, you will not make it out. You have to mount up and run out, which I don't think is right. It doesn't make sense. So people were like constantly ebb and flowing in the range, out of the range. Shit ton of people die. Honestly, the only lame thing is that there's really no tell for how he's going to turn with the fire breath. There's also no animation. So it's like he has a stare of death and he just instantly kills you. Yeah, anyways, there's not much more mechanics. He has cool fiery mini dragons that are summoned and tied to some of the raid members. They have 200 health, so they die instantly because people wand them 4 times. And there's like 40 people in the raid because the boss has 1,000,000 HP, so it makes it very simple. Anyways, I'm ranting, right? But this is a big letdown for the boss. I'm like, cool, red, fire. And then I got there after doing this long quest thing, organizing people to do it, telling people about the Emberstone Talisman, thinking about actually farming mats for them, making it myself. And then, yeah, it got stuck in a rock. Yeah, it sucked. So the twins and the Sunderer of the Lands. This boss is part of a quest line that's actually bugged, and I didn't complete it in time, but it actually gives you level 15 armor, which I missed out on, of course. So these bosses are all very similar, honestly. They're not very hard because everybody uses wands. Makes it a lot less fun, but they don't have many mechanics. They have this thing where they pull you in and put an AoE down. You just walk out. They put these crystals down, but everyone kills them so fast that I have no idea what they do. And that's it. There's also this other move where it releases a lot of jagged crystals from the boss origins. I'm not sure if this is in relation with the tiny ones, but we always instantly killed them. That was kind of dangerous, and it was cool. And he also has this Naruto pain push move where he pushes you far. Pretty cool, I guess. And its ultimate killer move with when you're fighting the twins, you kill one of them, and I'll just let this speak for itself. Punishes melee so much. Ooh. There it is. Oh no, wait!
Oh Lord, okay.
You know what?
Yeah.
Are you guys? You guys are experiencing the same thing, right?
Yeah,
yes.
We're all flying through the sky, and now I see the moon or some shit.
Oh.
Yo, Control T.
Rockets blasting off again.
Yeah, you're
I've completely frozen.
You're big brain, dude. Oh man. Like I said before with performance, I think it's really the only thing that matters in this test. So a lot of the other things I think are just placeholder. But I still want to give a little overview of all the bossing. People using melee weapons are just punished way too much by these bosses. Using a wand with any class is way better than actually standing near the boss because there's so many mechanics versus melee classes. I haven't played an MMO where there's any mechanics versus ranged classes. Or being in a certain range, but that would be nice. Or at least buffing melee damage in some way. You do have to close the gap. The root motion really doesn't help either because you sit there spamming like the attack and then you end up like getting in a bad positioning because you had to commit because of this weird auto attack system. Honestly, most of the bosses, they just seem really clunky and half of the time their like transitions aren't working. So once we see that, I think for the most part they're pretty decent bosses. Moving on to Gathering, I really like Gathering in MMOs, so it's probably what I'm gonna do whenever the game actually does come out. But in the alpha right now, I kind of think it's all placeholder. I don't think there will be shiny things around any like Gathering node at all. It'll probably be a lot rarer and more valuable. For the alpha test, though, I think the nodes, they seem like kind of reasonably rare to find. Stone is like semi-rare. Silver is like incredibly easy to find. Gold is kind of rare, and mithril is extremely rare. So there's kind of like a little jankiness when it comes to that. Like if the servers weren't to reset, I feel like nobody would ever find mithril. Like people wander for hours and find nothing, and so do others. If I'd say anything, silver spawn rates are way too high and mithril spawn rates just don't exist. And that might be a positive. Again, I don't really have much to say. I genuinely think it's all placeholder. I do like the style. I heard people argue that they like the way New World is implemented Gathering, where you can get anything you see, I mean, with different rewards. But there's discussion to be had on that. Maybe you want to comment about it. I'll talk about it in the comments. Crafting is okay. I don't think it's too good for like an alpha test. So we are all excited on Resident to get our blacksmithing building up to buy schematics for epic and legendary gear. And some pitched in stone to the mayor, I think it was Clover, at our village stage node. And after a long time, I think you even have to wait 24 hours after becoming mayor to actually try and build something. So once we made it, after a long cooldown period, the doors wouldn't open. It was bugged. The doors just wouldn't open. It was even dark inside, like nobody was home. So the cool, epic, and legendary gear that, people set their eyes on from an early time in their progression, it all required mining materials and a poop ton of gold to buy the schematics and this thing called hardened leather, which was necessary in every single piece of my plate gear. If I had to grind 20 hours in any alpha, I would just be so demotivated. And that's what happened in the Ashes alpha. 150,000 gold is not something you just grind. It is something you exploit, and then after maybe 10 hours, you are able to get what you want. That, or you have a guild feeding you money. But legendary gear, now that costs a special kind of bar, crafted from the scales of the Elder Dragons. And well, surely you would be able to go and kill a dragon in the open world and gather its scales, but nope, it only works in the sieges. I was really disappointed about this. I thought it'd be pretty fun to have the scales drop in these random raids and then people try and grab them and all that. And also with the combination of a 6-hour respawn period on the world bosses, you think maybe since they're rarer, you might as well put it in there. Not everybody will have legendary gear. Maybe some might have a piece, but that wasn't the case. The sieges, I believe, were bugged on my server. They weren't on auto rotation at certain times of every day. They would actually not pop at all. They'd have to be manually popped by a GM. And that led to people not participating in sieges very often. Meaning nobody in Resna could really do legendary crafting, even if it was just to get the belt, which is the most stonky gear. Well, it's definitely a cool concept. Long-term goals are great for engaging players to stay playing the alpha, testing the servers. So maybe next time the scale should drop from the open world bosses, which makes way more sense, to be honest, than from the siege bosses. There's a lot of bugs that I don't really want to get into, but the mounts are really cool. There's a large variety for relatively cheap amounts of gold at a tier 3 node, and they vastly improve the gameplay for alpha since there's so much running in between quests. If you didn't have a mount, I felt really sorry for you. The first thing I did was hover over the tier 3 node right when servers launched, and I bought my mount because walking around at normal speed is such a waste. And it feels even longer since you have that Naruto speedrun animation and it makes you feel like you're going fast. But after 15 minutes of running like Naruto, it doesn't feel so good. I really miss when there's flying mounts because it felt like I was actually playing the game instead of running all the time. I mean, if you want to keep us in the game world longer through traveling, the mount system's not actually horrible. But it does take me 20 minutes to get across the map. And that is a feature. But for an alpha, I would like there to be less of this stuff and more of the go and do content stuff. And I know it was a month-long test, so I know it makes sense not to give flying mounts because you have plenty of time to play. So I'm pretty sure they'll give flying mounts in spot tests that come up in the coming months, which won't be for a while. But yeah. So the physical assets in the game, the best ones are the mounts and the dragon bosses. Everything else kind of looks pee-pee poo-poo right now. It's just way too blurry for me, and all the time the character doesn't look like he's part of the world, and I don't know why. And there's also too much effects right now. It's still understandable. We're not done doing the first pass, second pass thingy that Steven explained on a lot of these abilities, but I'm still looking forward to the improvement. I just don't see it in the alpha right now. So to wrap things up, in general, I think there's a lot of bugs in the alpha. And in the 3 weeks and a handful of days this alpha has been up, they've attempted to fix a lot of different quests and bosses, but to me it seems like for every problem they fix, another problem keeps it broken. It's also been a slow process of waiting for the builds to come up, and this is probably because the alpha servers are getting DDoSed and the delayed us from receiving the fixes. If I'm going to take anything from this, I've learned that testing is a really slow process. The first week's build came with 15 fixes, and most of them didn't work. The second week's build couldn't come out on time for reasons, and was prolonged because of DDoSers, which sucks. Now we're on the third week, and we got a lot of fixes, most great in general, but introduced more problems that need fixing. For example, the Ice Dragon world boss isn't there anymore. I have no idea how a build comes out with 100 plus fixes, and one of the major bosses is just missing from the world. I don't know if people can just fly around and check if they're there before you release the build, but yeah. We're still waiting on last week's build to come up, but with the small player base and the limited days on the recent build, we'll probably see fixes that were on the back burner or something, or just some events that Steven put together. Anyways, I had a really fun time playing the game. I had a great time talking to people about, Ashes and the alpha, $500 question mark conversations. The next video I'm going to do is probably going to be about how they can improve testing, like kind of like a feedback video, keep players more engaged through like long tests, which I'm not sure with some of the recent changes was done all too well. If you want to talk more about the alpha, once I release this video, I'm going to be live on Twitch. I stream every day but Sunday, varying times, but most of the time it's 12 to 4 and 6 to 9:30 EST, except on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, which I only stream 12 to 4. So yeah, if you liked the video, subscribe to me on YouTube as well, and have a wonderful day.